All right, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. So today we're focusing on using elimination by using addition and subtraction. This is elimination of, we're still doing systems of equations where we have one or two equations. Here's your essential question. How can you use vertical math to find the variables? Maybe asking yourself, what in the heck are you talking about? But I'm going to show you kind of the vertical math technique. That is all about addition, using addition, subtraction. Homework is on ALEKS. Please make sure you do that as long as the 4 topics. Finally, make sure that you do the topics, and if you do have any canned goods, please bring them in. All right, bell work. Make sure you guys do this one real quick. All right, so on the bell work, you guys want to make sure, here is the setup of the bell work. So what you'd want to do is I took the first equation here and I substituted it in 2y, so that's for x, which is why you have 2y plus y equals 4. I solved it out. Make sure if you end up with a negative variable, like because negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1, so you know it's going to be a negative. You would transcribe the, over to here, the positive, and then you would go from there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you plug in the value for 8. So it'd be negative 2 times negative 4. It's going to be 8. Graph this one. It's actually parallel lines. And then finally, the sum of two numbers, x and y, is 31. The greatest number is, so I just picked y, is 5 more than the lesser number. What are the two numbers? So if I have this equation, I plug this into here, which is this setup. So it's 2x equals 26 because I subtract 5 from both sides. X is 13. Plug it into the equation. Your answer is going to be y is 18. All right, so with the end elimination, I want to make sure you guys understand we're looking for doing vertical math. And what I mean by that is that with the vertical math, we're going to be using elimination with addition and subtraction. So what I want you guys to think about when you're doing this, on your notes, if you don't have your notes on you, you can print them out via Canvas, okay? One of the things I want to make sure you guys know with elimination is that how you write it is, you write a system so like terms with the same or opposite coefficients are aligned. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to rearrange some of these equations, and we're going to line them up, just like old school math. So if you guys remember doing 3 plus 3, all right, you would add 3 plus 3, and then you have the little line underneath of it, and that would equal what? 6. We're going to do kind of the same thing. You guys used to do subtraction the same way. So if it was 4 minus 2, 4 minus 2, vertically speaking, underneath of that you'd write 2. Same concept. All right, and then you're going to substitute the value into one of the equations and solve for the variable, and it's an ordered pair. Now this is a little bit, it can be tricky, but you guys have to make sure that everything is set up appropriately. All right, so let's talk about this first one right here. On this equation, ladies and gentlemen, you do your setup. Old school math. We are going to add. So we're always going to be adding it because I don't want to change the variable unless we have to. And I'll get to that in a bit. So this one, we're going to add these equations together. So piece by piece, 3x plus negative 3x plus 3x is what? 0. All right. 4 minus 6 is negative 2, and that's going to be a y. And then this one here is 12 plus 18 is what? That would be 30, okay? Everybody hopefully is tracking along with me. Now, if I have negative 2y equals 30, simple setup from there, you would have divided by negative 2, and you have y equals negative 15. All right, so there's your one variable. Now what you need to do, though, is you take this, and you put it back into the original equation, okay? So I am going to need a calculator. So this is why sometimes elimination is a little bit more difficult to do. Because now we're going to take 15 and we're going to plug it back into the original up here. So I'm going to have, let me do the negative. So I'm going to go with negative 3x, all right? And I'm going to go plus 4 times negative 15 equals 12, okay? So I do know that 15 times 15 is 30. So if I'm going to do that 4 times, it's going to be 60 minus 60, okay, because that's negative, equals 12. All right, and then I'm going to add 70. I'm going to add 60 to both sides. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. And you end up with negative 3x equals 72. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you just divide both sides by negative 3, and you'd end up with x equals negative 2, 4, 24. Do the math in my head real quick. All right, so my point, if I were to graph it out, would be negative 24, negative 15. All right, nice little hard complication, but if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully I did all my math right. If not, say, Mr. Stiger, I don't know what you're doing, but that's not right. All right, your turn, ladies and gentlemen. Try both of these. All right, the simple setup on these guys is as follows. All right, here's the first one where you would solve it out. Okay, this is 0. This is going to be 2y equals 2, because negative 3 plus 5 is 2. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Divide both sides by negative 2, so I get y is negative 1. Then you drop it in. I'm going to put it into the original equation up here. All right, if I put it in the original equation up here, all right, I get negative 4x minus 3 equals negative 3. Then I would add 3 to both sides. I get 0. Anything divided by 0 is a 0. So my point here is 0, negative 1. All right, on this one here, I do need to do a rearrangement. Okay, so let me rearrange these to make sure they line up. So I'm going to go above it, negative 4y, and then it's going to be plus 3x, and that's going to equal 14. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite that like that. Let me get white, big one, and let me get rid of this equation. All right, so now we've set it up properly. I rewrote it. Okay, and let's do our math. 4 minus 4, 0. 3 plus 3 is 6, equals 6, 36. I can see right now, divide by 6, x equals 6. All right, now we have our original x as 6. Now you just plug it in. So let's go with the non-negative right here. All right, so I'm going to go 4y plus 3 times 6, right, equals 22. This is 18 equals 22. Then, ladies and gentlemen, you would, oops, change color to green. All right, then you would subtract 18 from both sides. All right, and you would have 4y equals, and that is 4. I can see that elimination is y equals 1. So my coordinate is 6, 1. All right, so that is how you do this, okay? No more difficult than that, but what we do need to do is we're going to do a little bit of more manipulation, and we just need to make sure that we have everything set up appropriately. So this is just another way of doing elimination by adding or subtracting. So now we're going to actually use solve systems with word problems. Okay, so 4 times one number, 4 times one number, minus 3 times another number is 12. Just write it like you see it, okay? And then 2 times the first number, so 2 times the first one, and added to 3 times the second number is 6. Find the numbers. So as we wrote it, or as we read it, we wrote it out. And it actually came out perfect. How about that? Geez, it seemed like they wanted it to come out perfect. Math. 4 plus 2 is 6x. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0 equals 18. Divide by 6, x is 3. Okay? There's my x value. Now, you just plug it back in. I'm going to go up here. So this is going to be 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 3y equals 6. Subtract 6, and we get 3y equals 0 again. So divide that by 0, y equals 0. Hopefully you guys get that. Let me make sure if I put a 3 up in here, that's 12. Subtract it. Yep, same thing. So my point is going to be 3, 0. So what are the two numbers? 3 and 0. How about that? Very interesting and weird all at the same time. All right, so next. The sum of two numbers. Figure this out, ladies and gentlemen. Write it out like you see it and answer it. All right, when you write it out like you see it, hopefully you guys get this answer here. Okay, the sum of two numbers is negative 10. So we're just going to have two numbers, and it's going to equal negative 10. Negative 3 times the first number, so negative 3 times the first number minus the second number equals 2. Look at that. They set it up again. Find the numbers. Okay? So we're going to do our simple math. All right, so these two cancel out. So this is basically, remember, this is 1. So 1 minus 3 is negative 2x. These cancel out to be 0 equals negative 8. Divide by negative 2. X is 4. All right, now you're going to take the equation and pop it in here. So if I got x is 4, so this is going to be 4 plus y equals negative 10. Subtract 4 from both sides. My y equals negative 14. So my point is 4, negative 14. All right, hopefully you guys saw that math that I did relatively quickly. And if you don't, please make sure you get it. Now, double check your work sometimes by just popping open Desmos, graphing these two equations, and making sure we're doing good. But this is elimination, okay? Simple setups. Just make sure you know how to get to the point. Now, here's where I need to make sure you guys are fully aware of a change in dynamic, okay? What I mean by that is that we are now going to move into, we still want to add, but we have a problem. Where if we add these two numbers together, 4 plus 4, you get what? 8. Add these two together, okay? You would get 2 minus 3, which is what? That is negative 1. Did we eliminate a variable? No, we did not. So we need to eliminate one. So what do you think we got to do? Subtract it, okay? But when we subtract it, this is what we're going to do. So let me see if I can get a color that's close to this. It's going to be, if I subtract on the outside here, what I'm doing is I'm changing all the signs within the variable here. Okay, so if I subtract, I would rewrite this. 4x plus 2y equals 28. And then I would take this negative and I would distribute it across the board. So it's going to be negative 4x. Negative and negative is what? It's a positive. Equals negative 18. Then, ladies and gentlemen, you solve appropriately. So 4 minus 4 is 0. This is 5y, and that's going to equal 10. Divide by 5, you get y equals 2. Okay, there's a nice setup there. Now you need to take your original and plug it in. So let's pick this one here because of the negative. I don't like doing that sometimes. So let's put it into this equation. So I'll go over here. It's going to be 4x. Uh-oh. Oh, my pen died. Need to change batteries. 4x, and then it's going to be plus 2 times 2, 4 equals 28. Okay, hopefully you guys understood how I got there. Subtract 4 from both sides. Like we always do the equation set up like this. It's going to be 4x, and it's going to be 24. So divide by 4, and you get x equals 6. So ladies and gentlemen, our point would be 6, 2 on the graph. Okay, hopefully you guys understand that. Simple enough, right? Just make sure that when we subtract it, that you distribute the sign across the board and make the equation like this. All right, so I want you guys to try this one on your own. Make sure you change the signs, okay? If you have not already done it, please do it. So this is going to be negative. This is going to be negative. That's going to be negative, and you go from there, okay? So this is going to cancel out. It'd be 0. 4 minus 7 is negative 4c. 11 minus 7 equals 4. So you divide by negative 4. You get c equals negative 1. Yay. So if I know c equals -1, let me plug it back into this original equation up here. So it's going to be 8b plus 3 times -1 equals 11. So I know this is going to be -3 equals 11. It's going to be 8b. All right, so I'm just multiplying that in. Add 3 to both sides. It's going to be 8b equals, make sure I'm doing this right because I'm getting a weird number. $14, okay? And then if I set it up from there, it would be divide by 8, and I got b equals 14/8. Now, that's a strange number. I'm looking at it to make sure I didn't make a mistake. If I did, I think I'll find out later. But I always love how they do these decimals. So what I should do is go on decimals and graph it to see if I got it close. Because you can make this the x and that the y. You could graph it and you could see what would happen on decimals. But double check to make sure we got that one, okay? All right, last but certainly not least, we do have 2 more story problems. Hardware store earned this much money. Congratulations. You're given no other stuff, so don't use that one. The store charged 36 days for ladders. So I'm going to make my ladders as x. And then I'm going to make my power tools as y. Okay, remember, it's helpful to do a key sometimes. So it's 36x, and we also had 85 days of power tools, which is y, and that equal, that day, oh, it is 9:56, okay. I'm like, where's the number? I'm 5:50, okay? So there's the number there. All right, and then the next one would be, this week the store charged for 36 days of the ladder, so it's the same number, okay? And 70 days for power tools. And they got that day $8.29. Now, here is the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Do I want you to use elimination all the time? Sure, in this example I do. But I'm only going to take this so far before I need to probably get a calculator out and then use it the old school way. So for example, on this one, it would be minus. So if I do minus, because this is all the columns, this needs to go minus, and then this needs to go minus, right? So cancel out, be 0. This would be 15y, and it's going to equal this dollar amount. So let me get a calculator real quick. So it's going to be 956.5. Subtract 829 from it, and I get 127.50. Okay, divide that by 15. And I get my number of 8.5. So my y value equals 8.5. So when it asks how much money does the store charge per day for ladders and power tools, I know if my y is power tools that we go for $8.50. Now I need to find my ladders. So I can plug that into the original equation and I can get my x value. I'm not going to do that math. You do it at home, you get the answer. I'll go back. Everybody want to look at it? There we go. All right, so the last one, Tamara and Adeline. Ooh, Adelina are throwing a birthday party for their friend. Talk about how many guests they've done, okay? How many guests did each girl invite? So together, we know x plus y. So I'm going to make Tamara x, Adelina y. So we know together they invited 47 guests, okay? But Tamara invited 5 fewer guests of friends than Adeline, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, do you have an equation? Yes. How many did they do? You figure it out. My goal for you guys is to use decimals on that to figure this one out. I'm not going to figure this one out for you. You can enter it in and you get the calculation. So we got one more. The next lesson, 464, is going to be the most complicated out of all of these, where you need to add more items in here to do the hand version. So I just want to make sure you guys can solve these using elimination, and substitution, what we did on 6.2, elimination, which we're doing on 6.3, and then tomorrow we're going to be doing some multiplication on 6.4, along with either we're going to be multiplying into the equations and then doing elimination, kind of the same thing we did today. If you have any questions, please come ask me in class, okay? Do the ALEKS. Remember, I have had 2 students almost max out their extra credit, which is 100 topics. My goal for you guys is to get better at this as we go along, so that in the second semester we can have a good time learning the more difficult things that we have to. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure to teach you. If you have anything, please ask me. Get your work done.